You go, boy.
Hey, world. Episode 20?
Sounds about right.
U-Goboy podcast, sports talk, that face, this face. Wait for the people, Mongo.
Hey, everybody. What's up, world? Let's do this thing.
Sports talk, the Super Draft Show.
Let's go.
On the way. Whoa. Hey, this a vibe, nigga. Whoa. Woo. Secure the bag, I need more. Hey, 3P, Jordan. Whoa. Woo. I can't keep it on a low. This a whole vibe. I don't need a plug, no cosign. Thinking out loud, that's a gold mine. Mask on, yeah, COVID-19. Baby mama, yeah, looking like Rihanna. Rest in peace to George, rest in peace Brianna. Still kicking like Van Damme with my niggas in Amsterdam. Yes, that
a lot of those today.
He's getting warmed up. He's getting warmed up. I'm just gonna sit here and just let him go.
Oh.
This is Marvin's favorite part of the show. Can you tell?
Let us pray, run amok, and flat out deceive.
It's your boy! You go, boy! Episode 20. We're out of the teens. No more teens. Can I get two Fat Joes? Two Fat Joes, please.
Yesterday's price is not today's price. Yesterday's price is not today's price.
I love it. Oh, we did a live show, Mongo, here. Shout out to everybody that came through for the live jam. First class, second place podcast. We outside, Chris Abalo, Cape, the whole crew, the whole lot of us, as they say overseas, across the pond. That was super fun, and I remember. So we're doing the live set, and a bunch of my guys came through, and they're just yelling out "Savage" and Yahtzee and "You Go Boy." I couldn't even get to the opening monologue, but shout out, Bravery up! Shout out to everybody, all the Bravery podcasts. Oh man, so we're here, episode 20. You see this face, you see that face. Stay tight on that. That's Mongo, by the way.
What's up, world? How we doing, everybody?
This isn't just sports talk. This is the super show, the draft super show. Give me three Chris Tuckers. Give me three Chris Tuckers. Keep them coming. Yeah, there we go.
Is this what you want? Is this what you want?
It's a big deal. They only do it once a year, so.
Might as well sneak in one for each rush hour.
Yes. 4 on the way. We'll be in it. We'll be cameoing. but before we get this thing on and popping, let's pay the bills. U-Goboy merch. U-Goboy merch.
You go, boy.
Mongo's got the little U-Goboy. Unzip it. You got the big one too.
He's
got two.
U-Goboy.
Look at that. Yes, U-Goboy merch in the link below. Grab yourself some U-Goboy merch. Shout out to Jeff Bezos for the hat. Thanks, Jeff.
We love you, Jeff.
Oh, man. And also our official sponsor. Shout out to Things Galore.
Yes.
Things Galore. At Etsy.com. Let's get a close-up on that. There we go. A little close-up on that. My brother, his amazing company, AI Inspired Art. They also do phone covers as well. This one is an exclusive Black Iron Man. Yes, because Tony Stark was African-American, believe it or not. So yeah, there we go.
That's awesome.
That's in 4K, so.
If you can't see the zoom in, just trust me. That's fantastic. I will shamelessly plug that just for being here. That is amazing.
Give me 2 Ric Flairs for that, baby. Love it. So yes, Things Galore in the link below. Merch in the link below. The Draft Super Show. So much to cover. We're going to do a full hour on just the NFL Draft.
All right.
No, we're not going to talk about the Yankees. Can I get 3 savages for how terrible they are real quick?
Savage.
Just going to leave it there. This is a good day.
Yes.
This is a good day.
Yes.
This is a good day. Woosah. So shout out to the NFL Draft. Round of applause for all the networks. It was on like 5 networks.
Yeah.
As always, 3 days of coverage. Mel Kiper still dyes his hair. Shout out to Todd McShay and all the draft gurus and this, that, and the third who are crowning Super Bowl champions in April, which is my favorite thing to do, right? That's the best thing.
You got to do so. When you're halfway through day 3, you got to do something, right? That's when it really falls apart. I got to give a quick shout out.
Sure.
The city of Kansas City.
Yes. Round of applause. Round of applause.
First of all, amazing draft. But as soon as they said we're going to have some of Kansas City's, finest come out here to kick it off, and it was Eric Stone Street and Heidi Gardner, it was like we're going to be real sincere about who we are here. We're not going to have 2, backup safeties from the Chiefs come out and call them, Kansas City's finest. We're going to really embrace that we got a lot going on here.
Yes,
and I thought it took me a minute to figure out what was going on.
Yeah.
But I liked it. I approved. That was
For
nice.
sure. And shout out to Kansas City barbecue. I don't know if you've ever had burnt ends. That's a Yahtzee right there for burnt ends. Oh my goodness.
Yahtzee.
That's some good stuff. Oh yeah. And before we start, forgot about this tidbit. We just crossed 3,500 subscribers on the YouTube channel.
Wow.
Big Yahtzees.
Very nice.
Oh man.
Yahtzee.
As always, thank you all the supporters across all the channels for blowing up the pod. On our way to 1 million subscribers. I think we've quick announcement. I gotta forget. We've actually crossed 1 million on TikTok and the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Give me 2 Fat Joes.
Yesterday's
Extra
price
Joe.
is not today's price. Yesterday's price
It's not today's price. So we're over 1 million on TikTok and the YouTube channel. We will, when we cross 1 million flat on the YouTube channel, the new belt will be here.
Yes.
I'm a man of my word, but Mongo, we're officially over 1 million on TikTok and YouTube.
That's crazy.
Round of applause one more time. It's a milli.
That's wow. Round of applause to every single one of those people. How about that?
You guys
are awesome.
Thank you. This show exists because of you guys, man. Love it. This is life goals. Wow. Life goals. Super Bowl goals. That's what Jay-Z said. All that good stuff. So yes. So thanks again. Let's get to it. Let's have fun. Let's boogie. So,
all right.
let's. Where do you want to start with the draft? How about we start at the top with the quarterbacks?
Sounds like a reasonable place to start.
Yes, it's a quarterback-driven league. So, quick recap. Bryce Young goes number 1 overall to the Panthers. C.J. Stroud goes to the Texans. Anthony Richardson goes to the Colts. Will Levis. I'm gonna drop a CM pipe bomb on Mr. Banana Peel over there, Mr. Mayonnaise and Coffee. I'll drop a pipe bomb on him at the end of your soliloquy.
Fair enough.
Of this quarterback class, which has been highly scrutinized. Some view it as a weaker class. Some view it as a sneaky good class. Some, of course, are raving that Anthony Richardson is the second coming of Jesus Christ, that Will Levis coming in was the second coming of Jesus Christ. And C.J. Stroud isn't a good test taker. Bryce Young is too short. The usual prodding and picking of the quarterbacks. But Mongo, of these quarterbacks, who do you think is in the best position to succeed? Who jumps out at you, and who you think is way too overrated? And miss me with that, as we would say on the block.
This is fair. Man, I would love to just say that 6 years from now we're forgetting that any of these guys even exist. I'm going to start by saying I'm generally down. I'm on the downside.
Oh, give me 5 savages.
I'll start with that right there. But
Mongo chose violence today.
I'll play the game. I'll answer the question. And here is what I'll say. It's hard to not start objectifying C.J. Stroud and not get down on him. The whole nonsense with the test taking, which I still think is ridiculous, and the whole narrative about Ohio State quarterbacks. And, unfortunately for C.J. Stroud, because he's a little bit different than some of the other quarterbacks who have come out of Ohio State, but he definitely fits the physical mold. And so, unfortunately, because of the world we live in, he's going to get lumped in because he looks like the mold. And so when I look at these guys, I say, who could we be most wrong about because we are making the most generalizations about? And so for that reason, I think I like C.J. Stroud as the one who could prove me the most wrong.
All right. Well, the comp on him, by the way, like the video, subscribe to the channel, continue to subscribe to the channel, close in on 4,000 subscribers. Big Yahtzees there. So, I mean, the comp on Stroud, I remember some of them offhead. The comp on Stroud is Dak Prescott, funny enough. The comp on Anthony Richardson, I've heard everything from Cam Newton to a combination of maybe some Andrew Luck or some or this, that, and the third. I've heard, maybe because he played for the Colts too.
Right. They want him. They want him to be what they wanted Andrew Luck to be. I mean, we're willing a lot of this.
Exactly. And it's like, and of course, sprinkle in some Jalen Hurts too, with him being a mobile quarterback. I'm going to defer to Michael Lombardi, friend of the show, and one of my mentors and former coworkers. He said that Anthony Richardson is about 2 years away from being a year away. Those are his words.
All right, that's fair. That's 3 years if you're good. If you're not a strong mathematician, it's 3 years.
2 savages there, please.
Savage.
The thing with Richardson is, again, I have a tough time buying into guys that just haven't played a lot of ball.
Yeah, that's
don't
fair.
have a lot of tape, and we can harken back to Carson Wentz. I'm just going to use him as an example. A top 5, fully lauded pick. Generational talent. Eagles moved up to get him. They're probably still paying off that contract, dead money. A guy who didn't really play that. He played under 20 games at North Dakota State, and that came home to roost once teams got game film on him. There's a reason why he's been bouncing from team to team, from Eagles to Colts, from Colts to Commanders to currently a free agent. Guys that don't play a lot of ball. That comes back to roost because, again, they're easier for coordinators to box in and to figure out, and just you need the reps. You need the reps. So I think with Richardson, I think he does need to play, but they have to have a plan when they get these guys, because the point you made last time about guys coming in to situations with poor offensive lines, guys who come into situations with offensive coordinators that don't know what the hell they're doing, dysfunctional organizations, name the reason. There's a lot of hurdles already just set up for them, to set up for them to fail.
Right.
So my question is, let's take Bryce Young. All right. I think he's the number 1 pick. He was the top pick. He's the top pick on a few people's boards, but the size. Do you think the size is going to be a problem for him, or do you think that where he got drafted to, Carolina, since they look like they're trying to put things together, do you think that's going to benefit him?
I think so. First of all, no matter how down anyone out there listening is on any of the 32 franchises, you have to believe all of these GMs understand how a ruler works, right?
Right.
If they believed it was a problem, they would not take him. So he might be shorter than you'd like him to be, but it's not going to be a complete be-all, end-all detriment. For him, what I think the best thing going for him is that he is in that division. There's a real chance that even if that team is mediocre, they could go 4-2 in that division, and that'll be enough to just get them to picking 7th next year, picking 8th next year. The problem is Anthony Richardson, next year is a loaded top couple quarterbacks, and Anthony Richardson's sole job this year is going to be, if he even plays, is going to be to just hand off the ball to Jonathan Taylor.
Right.
And so if the Colts stink like they could possibly stink, and Anthony Richardson comes out with very mediocre numbers because he's just handing off the ball 30 times a game, and the Colts are in position to already, pull a Josh Rosen, move on from him and take someone better, you could be looking at a wild narrative on the start of his career. So I think Bryce Young is safer, regardless of anything else having to do with him. I think that team is just going to be pedestrian enough by virtue of being on the right side of the NFC AFC, split, and then in probably the weakest group of the NFC.
Oh, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Can I get Dom DeMarco?
Dom DeMarco.
We're just getting warmed up here. Before we wrap here on these quarterbacks, it's going to be interesting. I know for a fact that Houston, originally they weren't going to take a quarterback. Those reports were actually pretty accurate. It turns out that I believe they got a mandate from higher up. The ownership was like, we're in the top 5. You guys figure it out. take a guy. You know, and if you want to circle back and get more value because we're trying to get out of the dumpster fire that is the bottom of the AFC South, take somebody else. And I actually like the moves of the aggression. Not a fan of the GM Cesario for a number of reasons, but to go get Anderson and to get Stroud, okay, now you got something to work with. You got your quarterback. You got, in theory, you have two foundational pieces: foundational quarterback, foundational defensive piece. Now you can begin to build around that and hopefully have a plan in place. You got the coach. I think they nailed the coach.
I agree completely.
And I like what D'Amico Ryans did. He's like 6 years, I believe, 5 or 6 years.
That I don't know if that's.
Okay, I believe it's somewhere between 5 or 6 years.
It's lengthy though.
It's very lengthy. So he's like, listen, you guys won and done your last two. I'm not taking this job unless you guys give me some stroke so I can actually build something here, because there's a lot of work to do. They're an expansion team right now.
Effectively, yeah.
So funny enough, they were in 2002, I believe, when they first entered the league. So my thing is, we'll see about Stroud. We'll see about Anderson. Before we wrap here, where's my camera? Here comes the Will Levis pipe bomb. All right, so give me three bombs. Let me get some bombs. All right, I've got a bomb away before we get to the wide receivers and keep this thing rolling. The thing with Will Levis, because I heard the word generational thrown around with him. Okay, for our viewers who don't know, who haven't been following the show, who've been living under a rock, I attended Penn State University. We are class of 2011, so I saw a lot of Sean Clifford. You guys know that name?
Green Bay's own.
Green Bay's own 5th-round pick of the Green Bay Packers. Go Pack Go. The heir apparent of Aaron Rodgers, I guess. No.
He fits in so well.
No freaking way. So here's my thing. Going in, the hype surrounding Will Levis made 0 sense to the casual viewer and 0 sense to the informed viewer. That's me. You're talking about a guy that could not beat out Sean Clifford. All right? Two Don DeMarcos just for that. Just for that. I want you to understand this. Sean Clifford, coming in, he had a 5th to undrafted grade on him, leaning heavily more toward the undrafted side. But Green Bay, knowing they just want as many insurance policies as possible because they don't know about Jordan Love, they took him. But I had him going in the 7th or undrafted, in the Max Duggan territory. That's where I had Sean Clifford. Actually, I had him below Max Duggan. Will Levis couldn't beat him out. He couldn't beat him out, so he had to go to Kentucky. And not only did he go to Kentucky, but he had 23 turnovers in his last 2 seasons.
Not good.
He's not good at quarterbacking. He's not. And I don't care how many bananas he eats with the peel. I don't care how much mayonnaise he puts in his coffee. If he proves me wrong and he's not trash, which I say he will be, I will wear his jersey on this show and give him his flowers in that camera with, and I'll shoot. Now, I'm not gonna drink coffee with mayonnaise, but I might eat a banana in a peel. I might in halves. You can't eat it whole. But Will Levis, I didn't get the hype then. I don't get it now. The fact that he wasn't a first rounder, I had a 5th round grade on him. All right, so him going in the 2nd round, I think he went too high there. I honestly do. But, prove me wrong, buddy. Prove me wrong, William. Because if you couldn't beat Sean Clifford out, you're not generational to me. I just don't see it. Give me the Don DeMarco, please. Thank you.
I gotta break the tension. First of all, well done. That was our first one in a while. We haven't truly had the pipe bomb in a while. That was very nice.
It needed to happen. It needed to happen.
And I think I'm in on the mayonnaise coffee thing. I gotta be honest. I'll take that half of it. I think I'm intrigued enough as to see what that could possibly be. So I'm with you. I always thought the hype was a little bit ridiculous, but I hate that we're even able to have this conversation. But when they were doing the interviews as the quarterbacks were coming in on Thursday, Will Levis walked in, and I turned to the guys I was with and I said, "Is that Blaine Gabbert's older brother?" That was my immediate question.
Two of them.
And he looks like that typical, prep school, got, any girl he wanted, didn't
get away
could
with,
do whatever he wanted.
Yep.
He looks like what, we for way too long envisioned the quarterback to look like. And in a draft where we're talking about Bryce is too short, and Stroud looks like the other Ohio State QBs who have failed. I think there were enough people who wanted to will the look to mean something.
Yes.
And, cooler heads prevailed.
Yes.
And, for those of you out there saying, you're absolutely wrong about Will Levis right off the bat, just remember he ultimately got drafted by the team that thought Ryan Tannehill could lead you to a Super Bowl.
And before that, Jake Locker could lead them to a Super Bowl.
Jake Locker was a first-round pick. And then, Malik Willis was the answer, and then they gave up on him after a year. So they clearly don't know what they're doing. So before you say fifth-round pick, he went in the second, to a team that clearly doesn't particularly get how this process works either. So, good on him that he didn't have to sit there for 3 days. He got out of it on Friday. But to your point, there's a lot when you look at how it actually played out where we might have got a real false narrative going based way too much on vanity.
Oh my God. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Again, he's in the world. We'll wrap here with him because I've talked way more about Will Levis than I rolled out of bed hoping to. He was in we mentioned it on the last Sports Talk, the guys that can throw the ball 60 yards from their feet. The guys that can throw the ball 80 yards from their back and hit the goalpost. Again, if you can't do the 3 things necessary to be a franchise quarterback, if you can't read coverages, if you can't throw people open, and if you can't run an NFL pro-style offense, you can't survive in this league. And the Titans have a storied history of drafting people that can't even do 1, let alone the 3. So we'll see, Will Banana, we'll see. Will Mayonnaise, we'll see if you can do it, but I just don't see it. I just don't see it. 3 Ric Flairs, man. We're just getting warmed up. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. We are live, episode 20 of the U-Goboy podcast, live from Bravery Studios. In lovely Garfield, New Jersey. Marv is on the boards. He's rocking an exclusive This is why we need another reason why we need the Marv cam. He's rocking the exclusive U-Goboy t-shirt that will be available eventually in the store. But let's keep it going. So let's move on to some of these draft grades. Let's go with NFL.com. A team that I want to talk about a couple teams here, and I want your take on, of course, Mongo.
I'm ready. Lightning round. We didn't rehearse this at all. We didn't.
I'm
ready.
Let's start with the reigning world champions. The Chiefs got a B-, an A-, and an A from NFL.com. They drafted Felix Anudike Uzoma. He's Nigerian, so I should know how to pronounce that. Rice, Morris, so basically a wide receiver, a tackle, a DB, an edge, another DT, and a corner. So, but they got an A on day 3. How do you feel about the reigning world champs? We'll go with some particular teams here that caught my eye. The reigning world champs. How do you feel about them coming in with the GOAT? They got Mahomes at quarterback.
I was going to say, can I ask a quick question? Did they trade Patrick Mahomes to have to move up at any point?
They did not.
Then I give them an A. They'll be fine. This is whatever the opposite of deck chairs on the Titanic is. I love that they are aware that on paper they are always, because they have Patrick Mahomes, they are always going to be one of the 4 or 5 best teams in the AFC no matter what. And so they treat the draft like that. They look for logical fits culturally, need-wise. They rarely make crazy trades. They know that they are the hunted. They can sit up on their throne. And good on them. They should, because as long as they have Patrick Mahomes, they'll be fine.
Yes. Okay, so again, let's keep it at the top. We got to talk about the other team that played in the Super Bowl. Where's my camera?
Georgia?
Yeah, the Philadelphia Bulldogs or the Georgia Eagles, the Super Bowl losers. Can I get 3 Ric Flairs for that? I love it. And they lost. You lost. So all the Eagle fans blowing me up in the chats, blowing me up on Twitter. Congratulations for losing the Super Bowl. I can say that. You guys won as many Super Bowls as the Cowboys did last year. So just have at it. But I will say this about what the Philadelphia Bulldogs or the Philadelphia Eagles, however you want to spin it. Howie Roseman, of the few things that another round of applause. I always give him his props on the show.
True.
I do.
You do.
I
do love him.
I give him his props because he's good at his job. All right, he's good at his job. Hate the team. Hate the fans, hate the colors, hate the jerseys, hate everything about him. Hate. It's like Haters Ball from like Chappelle's show. But I can't stand them. But their GM is goals, absolute goals. So they had 2 first rounders, and did they ever cash in with Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, both from Georgia. Later on, they picked up Kylie Ringo, also from Georgia. They got Tyler Steen at a guard for the offensive line. They got A's from just about every single draft grade website that I looked on. They killed it. They crushed it. I mean, they really, really did. And you think about all the starters that the Eagles lost in free agency and how some were actually, their replacement was already on the roster. They lose Hargrave. Jordan Davis is there. They lose Kazim White. Nakobe Dean is there. And coming in now, like I said, Smith, Carter, and now Ringo, you just insert them now. And yeah, they lost Gardner Johnson, but again, they have more than enough depth, I believe. And the fact that that their two starting corners are coming back too, Bradbury and Slay. Not the best in the universe, as some people make them out to be, but still serviceable. Slay, of course, I still think is one of the best, very underrated. So how do you feel about the other participant in the Super Bowl, the Philadelphia Bulldogs? How do you feel about them coming into this season? Can you just pencil them in for a rematch of the Super Bowl, or what are your thoughts?
Yes. Sorry. You can't. So Dean and Davis, also Georgia Bulldogs, by the way. The whole team is from Georgia. It was rough because initially as a Jet fan, the Jets were having an okay draft. But it pained me because basically everyone else in the area, I don't know if we're going to cover every team. If I'm spoiling something here, I apologize.
We won't get to every team. We don't have 2 hours of the show.
To me, Buffalo, the Giants, and the Eagles were the three winners of the draft. And I think I could easily say the Eagles. I could make a case that the Eagles were the winner. If not, definitely top three. Those two top picks are no-brainers. I mean, Jalen Carter was falling because of character issues. Yeah. The Eagles are I'm never afraid of that. I mean, in that city, the whole city is a character issue. I love Philadelphia, but I'm not wrong about that.
Two savages there. Two of them.
So, I love what they did. But to me, there were a bunch of tweener offensive linemen who I loved the Jets taking a flyer on day 2 or day 3 to possibly be a tackle because that was their need.
Yes.
But then they could fall in as guard. Nick Saldiveri from Old Dominion, who went at the start of the 4th round, was another one. Tyler Steen, though, is probably a guard at the end of the day, that is genius use of him. As far as fits go, Tyler Steen to the Eagles is one of the best. He can immediately compete there for Salomalo's spot, and everything about this draft is it's deep, it's good, it's got starting potential. And then I love they seem to always do this where they just grab a very athletic defensive tackle in the 7th round.
Yeah.
That's just the Eagle signature move.
That's what they do.
And I love that no matter how out of hand it gets, good or bad, they still take time to do them. And style points are I get not the point of the game, but bravo to the Eagles for always keeping it styling by doing their little trademark. I'll take a big at the end of this thing, which is it's classy. I love it.
For sure. Round of applause for the Eagles draft. They get it. And that's the nicest that I'll be to them in a very long time. You mentioned Buffalo. I love their draft, too. For them to move up, nice smokescreen by the Cowboys. I don't think they were ever going to take a tight end in the 1st round. I do believe they were targeting one in the 2nd and 3rd, and they got theirs in the 2nd. But they move up. They got Dalton Kincaid. They got Osiris Torrance, the guy that the Cowboys actually passed on as well. But they got him. They got Dorian Williams, Justin Shorter, Nick Broker, and they got a corner on day 3. They got A's on every single day according to NFL.com, an A- and an A, like I said. Buffalo had a really good draft, really strong draft. They fortified areas that need to be fortified. Getting offensive depth for Josh Allen, and getting another weapon for Josh Allen. Again, when you're the 3rd best, where's my camera? When you're the 3rd best quarterback in the AFC, I said it, behind Patrick Mahomes and behind Joe Burrow, keep the weapons coming, keep the protection coming, make the team better. What?
You didn't say Aaron Rodgers in either of those spots.
We'll segue to that.
Oh, sorry.
We'll segue to that.
I'm jonesing.
He's jonesing over
Aaron
here.
Jonesing, as it were.
Give me 2 savages for that, please. But yeah, love what Buffalo did. You had mentioned them in your big winners.
The sneaky one there is Justin Shorter, and he that's the one that if anyone is down on this, they tend to, Walter Football, for example, was not a big Justin Shorter fan here, and I get it. He's limited in what he does, but he's a big red zone target. And you're talking about Cincinnati and Kansas City, and the bottom line is when these 3 teams find each other every January, you can't be kicking field goals. You need touchdowns, so you need Everybody on the offense needs to be able to contribute in the red zone for 6, not for 3. And Kincaid and Shorter do that, and their team gets much better where they need to be. Because this is not a team that has to worry about, well, are we going to go 9-8 and miss the playoffs, or 10-7 and make it? They're a top 3 team in the AFC. I'm sorry, they are. No, I'm sorry.
They are.
Sorry, Jet fans. I'll spoil it right now. They're still top 3. So it's about getting those last couple points that they need to win a shootout with Cincinnati or Kansas City, and those two guys do a tremendous amount to help them out.
Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Let's get to a couple other teams before we get to Aaron Rodgers, Jet Talk, as well as can I get a how about them Cowboys? Because we're gonna bring them home. They're gonna take us home. Yeah,
The batting ninth tonight.
they'll take us on home. I really do like what Detroit did. I like what Detroit did. They had an aggressive draft from the standpoint of weapons. I mean, because from what I hear, they're going to re-sign Jared Goff. That's even though they did take Hendon Hooker, who is a flyer. There's nothing wrong with taking a quarterback that you think that may or may not be that guy on the low as a dark horse. To get Gibbs, to get Laporta, to get Jack Campbell to go on the other side, Dan Campbell's long-lost son.
I didn't even make that connection.
And then to trade away Swift to the Eagles. Well, here we go again.
Why not?
Why not? The rich get richer. It just appears to me that Detroit. Listen, they're my favorite to win the North. I mean, listen, and I
think so.
I was right before when I said they were going to end the Rodgers era in Green Bay. I was right once,
and they literally did.
And they literally did. Yes. So my thing is, NFL.com wasn't nice to them. They gave them a C+ grade, but I disagree. I like the weapons that they got. I like that they made their strengths stronger from the offensive standpoint. Do you disagree, or what do you think?
I'm generally with you. The Laporta one is infuriating because this idea of, Laporta's getting a bad rap because he gets drafted before Michael Mayer, and most people had Mayer above Laporta. The thing is, we have no idea what happens in these conferences. Maybe Laporta is just socially or culturally a better fit. Mm-hmm. And if Mayer is an 8.4 out of 10 and Laporta's an 8.3, I'm willing to sacrifice that 0.1 if the guy just fits my room better. So, when the argument is there was a better option out there at the same position and it's fairly negligible, I always hate that argument. Otherwise, I'm pretty high on this trade. I was screaming for Brian Branch to. For the Jets to stop the Brian Branch free fall. I'm still not 100% sure, what happened there. But whoever ended up with Brian Branch was going to have to get a high grade because they basically got a free lottery ticket, pick. Nothing wrong with taking Hendon Hooker in the middle of the draft. We have no idea what he's going to be. He's coming off an injury. He's going to need some years. So let Goff keep going. The only one I don't understand, and it's not Detroit, and I'm sorry, I'm kind of macro thinking here.
That's fine.
Gibbs is at least being met with, both sides of the coin, and so is Bashan Robinson. And I don't understand how, when we lived in an era of bell cow backs, drafting a running back in the top 20 was lunacy. And now all of a sudden we're getting more and more into the running back by committee. And now all of a sudden we can spend the 8 and the 12 on running backs, and at least there's a lot of support for it. Like, why did we spend the last 5 years bashing the Barkley and the Zeke pick? I don't understand where the mentality shift came. And again, that's no fault to the Lions. If it's suddenly okay to do, hey, they got a great player there. But 3 years ago, that pick would have been universally bashed, and now weirdly all of a sudden it's not.
Yeah, like the video, subscribe to the channel. I think that the weird thing with running backs, the weird thing with running backs, it's not that, because I think taking a running back in the top 5, I don't think that's a good idea. Mm-hmm. I don't. On top of the fact that you're going to have to pick up that 5th-year option, typically if that running back balls out, he's going to want top tier money. He's going to want borderline wide receiver money because it's still a skill position. I have no problem taking a running back at the back end of the 1st round. I have no problem taking a running back in the 2nd round and beyond. I don't, because the 5th-year option is gone, and you can just rinse and repeat. You can just get another one, following. So the Bijan talk was foolish to me with the Cowboys. They should trade up to get Bijan just because he played at Texas. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Not skipping forward 2 ahead. We'll get to the Cowboys. Can I get how about the Cowboys? we'll get to that. But I mean, Atlanta. Atlanta taking him is right on brand with Atlanta doing Atlanta things because you build from the trenches, you build from the line of scrimmage. And on top of that, they don't have a quarterback. Where's my camera? They don't have a quarterback. Desmond Ridder is not it. He's not. Marcus Mariota was definitely not it. And unless Michael Vick is going to hop in a hot tub time machine and come back in his prime form from Madden 2004 on the cover, you don't have a quarterback. So you can get the Kyle Pittses of the world, you can get the Drake Londons of the world, you can get the Bijan Robinsons of the world. You can try to score 50 points all you want, but you can't stop anybody. You can't get people off the field, and you can't beat top-tier teams or even borderline top-tier teams because your quarterback's not good enough and your trenches aren't good enough. So your drafts aren't good enough. So them getting Bijan, I laughed at that because I was like, of course he goes to Atlanta. Of course.
And I can say, as somebody who owns both Tyler Algier and Desmond Ridder in a dynasty league, I was screwed.
Too dumb to mark.
I had nothing. I was done either way. But I can say I felt much better about Algier moving forward than I did about Ridder. And so for them to feel like he was somehow now I get that Robinson is generational. But at the same time, give me Algier as one of my 22 starters on a team and build around him, versus Robinson running for his life, because, when he's in there on first down, you can put 10 in the box, So I don't quite get what they're going for with that. But again, you're right. It's a very Atlanta thing. And it goes back to the top of what we were saying, which was, the nicest thing that Bryce Young arguably has going for him is that 9-8 could win a division this year.
Yeah. The South will be bad again. I think both Souths are going to still be bad. Yeah. And that's not going to change probably for another year or two. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. They're just some people that just don't know how to draft, and it's just comical. But can I get a JTS Jets because it's about that time. It's about that time. So, Aaron Peyote has signed with you guys. He cut his beard, or trimmed his beard down. He cut that nasty homeless biker hair he had going, and doesn't look too much like a vagrant anymore, and he plays for the Giants. The Jets now. Mean green.
You never know what's going to happen. With the Jets, it wouldn't surprise me.
So, let's take it twofold. Let's talk about your... Can I get one more Jets? One more JT? Yes, Jets. Let's talk about the Jets draft, and let's talk about Rodgers coming. You answered the question last time. Does Aaron bleeping Rodgers, does he open up the Super Bowl window? You answered that equivocally with a sigh.
And I stand by that. I stand by that sigh.
Stands by that sigh. With this draft now, in conjunction with last year's draft and free agency, and Saleh returning, of course, as head coach, still a great hire. I love Saleh.
Oh yeah.
How do you feel about both elements in place? The last year's draft, this year's draft, and Rodgers finally landing. See what I did there? As a Jet, no pun intended. In Florham Park with your beloved Jets.
So I'm gonna a lot of good questions there. So let's work our way a little backwards here, which is the draft, which I'll go into more detail in a little bit. Makes it very clear that this is a complete in Aaron Rodgers we trust situation. We talked about this last time, so I don't want to go into too much detail, but the free agency was almost surgical in how micromanaged it was. Little things like upgrading the second string interior offensive line, upgrading at punter, worrying a lot about converting contracts to bonuses. It was very clear we were being very meticulous because we knew it was going to be baby step, baby step, baby step, boom, Aaron Rodgers, baby step, baby step. And the draft did really nothing else. And so that's really the sort of the infuriating part. The only word I can use to describe this draft is vanilla. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's also not necessarily a good thing. It almost felt like the entire Jet draft was designed to just see how many times the media could say, that's a nice player, but. They really seem to go out of their way to get those kind of players. Will McDonald is a nice player, but he was clearly a plan F when they ran out of offensive linemen in the first round. He clearly could have gone lower than that on most draft boards, and he's not necessarily a need. With Carl Lawson and Jermaine Johnson there, he's not a starter, and if he is, he replaces Jermaine Johnson, who's a Joe Douglas first-round pick anyway. So either way, a first-round pick is not starting as a result of that pick. Guys like Carter Warren is a nice player, but he's like 3 years away from being a useful starting offensive lineman. Even the guys they took at the end of the draft, Zach Kuntz is a really nice tight end, but he's tight end 5 on the depth chart. There's no way he makes this team. They just have too much invested in it. So it's a lot of nice, but everything comes with some sort of caveat. And when you look at how the draft could have unfolded otherwise, you're left saying that they really made picks where they just didn't want to in any way hurt the team. Because you got a bunch of, in the grand scheme of things, you got 4 to 5 guys who are going to probably play out their entire rookie contract as a Jet, which by Jet standards, that's miraculous. And to complete the analogy, some people like vanilla, but at the end of the day, it's still vanilla.
Give me 5 cannons, please. It's
Cannon,
the way you said it.
cannon,
Not how you said it. The way you said it. Vanilla yogurt is delicious, by the way. Sidebar. We continue.
But I don't know. I feel like defensive end not necessarily a need. Especially the center one is, and that's the infuriating part. Joe Tippmann is going to be a player in this league. He is, and so most Jet fans and most analysts are liking the Jet draft because that was money. That was a home run second round pick. But this draft was loaded with centers. You could have got Jared Patterson out of Notre Dame, who literally did not give up sacks in the 6th round. You could have got, I loved Alex Forsythe. I wanted the Jets to take him in the 4th round. He literally was the 3rd to last pick in this draft. There was no reason to do that. Instead, you can take Brian Branch, or you can take Charbonnet, you could take Zach Charbonnet out of UCLA, get a much more reliable running back, because that was the only move that made sense. We need somebody while Breece Hall is injured.
Yeah.
Instead, we got a guy who I kind of liked Eric Gray going 15 picks later. Even that's it is what it is. So it was a lot of questionable moves, and when you look at how the draft unfolded, I feel like they played it really conservatively in a draft where, because of how many quarterbacks were randomly taken, it was even deeper than it was intended to be, which it was already a deep draft, and it was not the year to be conservative, and they played it way too conservatively.
Like the video, subscribe to the channel. You did mention Charbonnet. Low-key, I love what the speaking of Charbonnet, I love what the Seahawks did with their draft.
Not mad about it.
Flipping the Russell Dangerous trade, let's ride, into a boatload of picks, including Jackson Smith and Jigba. Of course, he goes to Seattle. And all of a sudden, Seattle, again, I talked them up a little bit before that playoff game, before they got smacked by the 49ers. It's just a bad matchup. But they are building something there.
Yeah.
They are a lot quicker than I thought. I thought they were in full Houston Texan rebuild expansion mode when they did the trade with Russ. But no, they're using that draft haul. They got a corner early, I believe. You get Charbonnet to go with who's the running back they have now?
Kenneth Walker.
Yeah, with Kenneth Walker.
And then they grabbed Kenny McIntosh in the 7th round. They literally now have a 3-headed monster back there. I'm big on McIntosh.
Exactly. And so a 3-headed monster at running back, a 3-headed monster at receiver with JSM, Lockett, and Metcalf. They got weapons. And Geno wasn't bad last year. Geno wasn't bad last year. He definitely earned his money. Round of applause for Geno Smith. He actually did his thing last year. So the defense gets weapons. The offense gets more weapons. And, listen, I don't think Brock Purdy's going to play this year. He very well might play this year. You can't really bank on that with a Tommy John injury for a quarterback. I guess if it was like a running back, but I think knowing that San Francisco, who drafted a kicker in the 3rd round, which is comical, but the fact that they're going to go into the season with Trey Lance, a billion swaggy P question marks around his face, and Sam Darnold at quarterback, and you're just supposed to pencil them in to the NFC Championship again. I know the roster's still loaded. You still got Debo, you still got Kittle, you still got Christian McCaffrey. I get all that. It's still a quarterback-driven league. Yeah. And what did them in the NFC Championship? The quarterback position. So they didn't upgrade there, at least in my opinion. Seattle and San Fran, they'll go neck and neck, in my opinion, for the West. But round of applause for Seattle. John Schneider, Pete Carroll, they'll be in a playoff. They'll be in a tournament. I believe they'll be in a tournament again.
I agree with that. I want to go back to the Jets real quick, just because talking about Jackson Smith and Jigba. One of the chaos ensued when the Jets couldn't find their way out of that pick. When literally anyone they could have taken managed to go 10-14, they went into panic mode, and I genuinely believe they could have. The one that I thought they could have done was, there were talks of Dalton Kincaid going in the teens, and the pick that was once upon a time Buffalo's ultimately ended up with Jacksonville, where they took left tackle Anton Harrison. So I thought the Jets, even if they took a discount to let Buffalo move up and take Dalton Kincaid, they still would have got their left tackle of the future, which was the whole point of this exercise, which they ended up not getting it anyway. They ended up just doing what I've been saying from the beginning.
Give me 2 Ric Flairs real quick. He said the whole point of this exercise.
They ended up doing, I've been saying from the beginning, they're just going to go and get Ricky Wagner out of retirement. They're just going to bring one, and then they just go and sign Billy Turner. I had the wrong Green Bay Packer guy all along. But they did what I've been saying from day one, which was just put the old Packer line in front of him. So the whole thing was a waste of time anyway. But once the offensive tackles fell out, one of the things they said was anything better than what they did, including Jackson Smith and Jigba. But I don't hold on a second. I get that he's an elite talent. I get that. But Garrett Wilson is your number one there.
Yes.
Truly.
Big facts. Big facts there.
If you believe that Aaron Rodgers is sticking around for 2 years, that's the ultimate goal. Alan Lazard is the 2.
Yeah.
He will start on an Aaron Rodgers Jet team until Aaron Rodgers is not there.
Yeah, that's true.
And so knowing that, Hardman is going to be the deep ball guy for Aaron Rodgers. Yes, he doesn't have that explosiveness after the injuries, but you don't need to with Rodgers. He throws it to the moon, you play center field, it lands in your hands.
Yeah.
That's how Alan Lazard got paid doing that.
Yes.
So you're looking at, you would have been drafting a guy who's going to be your 4th receiver, and the problem is, this is no offense, but they've done this to themselves. Receivers have started complaining about their first paycheck after the 3rd season.
Yeah.
They start complaining. Look, Terry McLaurin was going to sit out his 4th, OTAs. So if you need to start paying these guys after 3 years already, and he was going to be a 4th option for 2 years, you were going to be paying this guy off of very, very little film, then moving forward with a quarterback who he hadn't had for the first couple years. That's a lot of investment, in a guy who you're just going off of, well, he was really good in college, considering wide receivers tend to be available, 3 to 5 of them first round every year. So the one thing I liked that the Jets did was passing up on the wide receiver there when it seemed like they were just like, we got to do something with this pick. So that I will give them credit for.
Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Speaking of receivers, real quick before I bring us on home, Quentin Johnson goes to the Chargers.
Love it.
Jalen Hyatt goes to the G-Men.
Super love it.
Cedric Tillman goes to the Browns. Jordan Addison goes to the Vikings. Josh Downs goes to the Colts. And again, Zay Flowers, he goes to the Ravens to pair with OBJ. Real quick before I bring us on home, what two? You can only pick 2. Which 2 receivers are you really excited about in terms of their match and the scheme where they're going to go?
So I'm gonna give you a bonus here. I'm gonna give you 2, but then I'm gonna give you one I don't like here. I love Hyatt to the Giants. Whoever was going to the Giants would have been my answer. So, but I happen to be highest on Hyatt out of this list anyway. So it's a match made in heaven. The guy I like the most with the scheme I like the most.
Yeah.
I also really like Zay Flowers to Baltimore. I don't believe OBJ can stay healthy for the season.
He's missing games.
I think
you can bank that.
He's moot. And then I really love what Flowers and Bateman are together.
Yeah.
I think that's a really nice 1-2 punch, not only in the style they play, but also the programs they come from, the types of guys they seem to be in the limited interviews I've had. that should just be. Baltimore always is just a very classy organization. I think he fits in there beautifully. I really like that one. The one that I'm a little worried about, and again, this is I think I say this every time I'm on. This would be where we play the X-Files music. Because this is where I'm strictly going deep dive controversy here.
The Marvel have it on hand in the future.
Marv, any day now.
Stop.
There it is. Yes. From the files of Mongo just making stuff up. Quentin Johnson did disappear in the college playoffs.
Yeah.
And he has been known to have a couple key misses and a couple key drops
He's
along the way.
My biggest problem, too, with him being linked to Dallas, he's a body catcher.
Yes.
And he's not a natural hands catcher. And we already went through that with Terrence Williams, which is why he's in the XFL right now.
There it is.
Where's my camera? Which is why he's in the XFL right now. I'm never a fan of body catchers. If you're going to be a number one receiver, but continue.
It lends itself to also some key drops or some key fumbles and some key moments. And just because the Chargers have the world's longest history of critically blown plays at critically important times, the script writes itself where Quentin Johnson is the GOAT of a playoff game at some point in these first couple years. And I know nothing about the dude's psyche. I'm not going to pretend I do. But if that somehow gets in his head, that could be a problem. I feel like being a star and going to the Chargers is always a dicey proposition.
Agreed. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. The whole what can't go wrong, will go wrong myth created by Stephen A. Smith about the Cowboys. Really say that about the Chargers.
It should be.
It should be about the
100%
Chargers.
should be about the Chargers.
But that's neither here nor there. I'm going to bring it on home and then we'll wrap. Can I get them? How about them Cowboys? Please.
How about them Cowboys?
Dallas Go-Boy called me on the drive here, and he and he said, "We're looking good. So
I'll buy that.
So round of applause for Dallas Go-Boy. Love him. He'll be back during the regular season. He promises. He's still on vacation. He's living it up. He's probably in Cancun somewhere with Dylan Brooks. but yeah. So Cowboys have a typical Will McClay draft, and that's just all around just solid. They just do what they're supposed to do. Of everything that and the interesting part about the Cowboys draft, which a lot of people forget to mention, is you can kind of lump in the free agency moves that they made with the draft because they were for draft capital. They traded for Brandon Cooks with draft capital. They traded for Gilmore with draft capital, and they traded last year Hankins with draft capital and just re-signed him or whatnot. All solid moves that I just love. I love. The Mozzie Davis pick, I'm 100% on board with. They haven't drafted a interior defensive lineman in the first round since Russell Maryland. Where's my camera? Since Russell Maryland in 1991. So Will McClay was just like, you know what? We've been gashed in the playoffs by C.J. Anderson. We've been gashed in the playoffs by Elijah Mitchell. We've been gashed in the playoffs by Christian McCaffrey. We've been gashed in the playoffs by insert running back since Jimmy Johnson left. Let's begin to put a stop to that. Considering that we're going to have to play Philadelphia twice, maybe 3 times. Considering that we're going to have to play San Francisco more than likely come tournament time, we've got to stop the run consistently. And that makes the pass rush better, and that makes Micah Parsons, the line is always hungry. That makes his job easier as well. So I love the Mozzie Smith pick. I really do. I wanted trenches in the first round. I didn't want a tight end. I didn't want a running back. I did not want Bijan Robinson. I wanted trenches. I wanted either an offensive lineman, dominant, or a defensive lineman, dominant. I got my wish. I did want an athletic tight end to replace Dalton Schultz. They got that with Schoonmaker. Listen, if you come for a 30 visit to the Cowboys, they're going to draft you. That's just how it works. I don't know how it works for the Jets, but that's for the Cowboys. That's how it works. You come on a 30 visit. You have a formal meeting at the combine. They're going to take you on day 1, 2, or 3. That's just how it works. That's just what they do.
I don't mean to get you off your horse here, but just a spoiler of how it's going to work in 2024.
Yeah.
If you are bringing the peyote, the Jets will be drafting you.
3 savages. Savages.
Savage.
Who's got the peyote? that should be on the Aaron Rodgers t-shirt. Merch available. But yeah, so just navigating through their picks because I memorized them. I mean, the Fehoko pick again. Dominant defensive line. A guy who could play inside and outside. Again, if the moves don't help two players, if the moves don't help Dak Prescott, or the moves don't help Micah Parsons / Trey Diggs, I'm not interested. I'm not. Your best players, their job and their burden should be lightened, from the draft, from free agency. So getting Dak another weapon, and then eventually they did get offensive line depth on day 3. Richardson from North Carolina, who can play tackle or play guard, another swing depth position, because Tyron Smith is going to miss games, just like OBJ is going to miss games. Absolutely. It's going to happen. So I like what they did, but the real story that really encapsulated what Dallas needed. They needed help. They needed some depth at running back. I knew they were going to take one. This is one of the most loaded running back classes. Running back and tight end, super loaded. Yeah. Super loaded. Sure. So, and I expected Dallas to take a running back on day 3 with one of those lottery picks. I call day 3 lottery picks. But that's a Will McClay special. He does a lot of nasty work in the 4th and 5th round with Ferguson. He got him on a day 3. Day 2 or day 3, I believe. He got Deron Bland. He got him with a late round pick. And here we go again. He does it again with Deuce Vaughn. And I listen, I'm a fan of Deuce in a sense. Here's a fun fact. You know who led college football last year in all-purpose yards? It was not Bijan Robinson. Might it have been Deuce Vaughn? Is that where you're going with this? It might have been. Yes, good observation, my good man.
Nailed it.
Elementary, my good man. It was Deuce Vaughn. Deuce Vaughn was a better running back than Bijan Robinson last season. He was. It was, and I'm not making that up, and I'm not being a homer. Not any more than Dallas Go-Boy is. You see what I'm saying? Like, Deuce Vaughn, from a statistical standpoint, he tested well athletically, his numbers were great, and the stats were off the charts. What held him back is the size. People are just like, yeah, he's short, he's little. I'm just like, I don't want a 6'4" running back. I mean, Derrick Henry doesn't really have much left in the tank. I'm just calling a spade a spade. You don't really want a super, because the punishment they're going to take from the waist down over the years is going to catch up. So love the Vaughn pick. Love the fact that his father is a scout and made the call too. I don't know if you saw the footage of that.
No, I didn't see that.
That was amazing. That was amazing. The fact that his dad calls and like, son, you want to come work with me? Like, oh, that's very cool. That was the round of applause for that. Round of applause for that. So
classy.
Super classy.
We've come a long way from 3 years ago when Belichick's dog was making picks in the 4th round.
Two savages for that. Oh man.
Savage.
But no, the Cowboys draft very responsibly, and I don't mind the fact that it's not the days of Jerry trading up for Mo Claiborne. Or trading away a first pick so the Browns can get Brady Quinn. No, keep your butt there. Trust your board. Trust your scouts. And spoiler alert, where's my camera again? Jerry Jones does not pick players. Will McClay picks players. That's why his title is Vice President of Player Personnel in college.
It's also why it's done well.
And that's also why it's done well. Give me 5 savages.
Savage.
You nailed it though. The key word here is purpose. And I think Dallas and the Jets both had very similar drafts in that it was very meticulous. It was very mechanical. But the difference is, at the end of the day, are the Jets better for the very short Aaron Rodgers window? And the answer is pretty universally no. Whereas the Cowboys, are they better for this year? Yeah, absolutely. Because the undrafted free agency half the time is going to be your future anyway. You're going to find lottery tickets all over the place.
Oh, big
so
facts there.
You need to leave, especially day 1 and day 2, saying we are better off for the immediate. And, I think Dallas does that, And the one thing about the only one review I saw that I was like, I'm not in on that. The criticism of the Mozzie Smith pick was that it was a very 90s style pick. He's a very old school style grinder. Listen, I get that it's a very different sport. To my knowledge, running backs still exist. So, it may not be as important to stop the run.
For that.
But you still need to stop the run, and this is a guy who specializes in that particular field.
Yes.
And he's also a guy who's aware of what he does. So
Yes.
you're probably not looking at having to super pay him. I get that I'm talking way long term, but 4 or 5 years from now,
it's facts,
this guy could easily be a very well liked Cowboy lifer, and when you can get that, again, maybe I'm just a little traumatized because the Jets have nobody left from even 2018, and we're already talking about how you might have just found a defensive tackle who could be around for 12 years. Yeah, I'm a little jaded by that. That's a nice added bonus to have.
Sean, we got Steve on the boards. He just walked in. Marvin's on the board, Steve's on the boards. We got all the celebrities. But no, I'm completely with you. I mean, and you mentioned the undrafted free agency. Listen, they picked up a fullback as well from North Dakota State, Luepke, I believe. Super big fan of that. He looks like John Kuhn 2.0. He looks like Kyle Juszczyk 2.0. And that's so quarterback friendly because that's a guy who can hand the ball off to. He can line up and play some H-back, some super tight end there, so a la Chris Cooley, and you can get funky with him in the red zone. Those are the type of gadget players that helped Green Bay win a Super Bowl.
Right. Especially in a world where Vaughn and Pollard both a little,
Yes.
You kind of thought maybe they'd try and replace Zeke a little bit more, and I'm glad they did.
They kind of did with Ronald Jones a little bit as the bruiser.
I mean, we'll see if he makes the roster.
See if he makes the team, though, yeah.
But
Savage for that.
With Vaughn and Pollard, you're looking for that pure thunder, and if it comes in the form of an undrafted fullback, even where it comes from is where it comes from. So I did not know they had him, but that sounds great.
Yeah,
that's the kind of guy you're looking for.
Again, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Again, and we'll wrap here with this point. The Eagles are the favorite in the East. They're the favorite in the conference. I will say that because they've earned that and they deserve that, and that's what they are until the games are played. You know what I mean? And again, this Grand Canyon-sized crater between Dallas and Philly, supposedly by the national outlets. The Eagles were 13-4 last year. The Cowboys were 12-5. I believe you teach math, right? That's a one-game difference, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, the Eagles made it to the Super Bowl, lost. One more Dom DeMarco for that. I'm gonna have that on a T-shirt. but yes, so they deserve all the flowers they get. Amazing draft, great offseason. They have Howie Roseman. He's the X factor. But it is still same bat time, same bat channel. 3-team race in the NFC between the Eagles, San Francisco, question mark with quarterback, but they got coaching and they got weapons. And Dallas. It's those three teams. It's those three teams and everybody else. And we'll see when injuries play, when coaching, when weather, when all the crazy factors that factor into an NFL season, when all that is sifted through, we'll see who's left standing. But to just hand Jalen Hurts and the Eagles the Lombardi now in April, national outlets, you can do that. You can do that. Have at it. The games are going to be played.
I do need to make two things clear very quickly here.
Yes.
The first is I at no point said I'm handing them the Lombardi.
I didn't tell you. I was talking to you.
But
I was talking to ESPN and Fox.
But I do need to say I am handing them the NFC Championship. At which point they will then promptly lose to whichever one of those three teams comes out of the AFC.
Give me 3 Dom DeMarcos.
The other thing, and I always love when we can end on a random team, so I'll circle this to a random one. When you start to look at that second tier, though, of teams that, hey, they could get hot, and we talked about the Lions before. I'm with you. I think that's definitely a secondary team. But I think the Giants are well within their
They
right
drafted very well too. I'm glad you mentioned that.
To stake claim there.
That center they got from Minnesota, John Michael Schmitz. I had him high.
Stud.
I wanted
Stud.
him in Dallas, but I'm mad they got him. And of course the high pick, like you mentioned, they had a
Good
solid
cornerback
draft
in the first.
Yes.
And I can't necessarily condone already trying to go 0-17 in May, but Washington may just want to sit this season. it may be the Commanders might want to be thinking about who they're taking at the top of the 2024 draft. It might be time.
It's the Marge Simpson meme where she like taps I think Homer or at least on the shoulder, and then everybody has inserted the meme with like, yeah, but Egypt might as well just clock out. But oh man, round of applause. That was a super show. We'll put some links below to some of the to Fox and NFL Network so you guys can get full draft grades. We'll have our individual draft grades for every team as well in the link below. I was told there was no homework on this side, but yeah, Mongo, that's your homework. But no, thank you guys for tuning in as always. Round of applause one more time. Go stream U-Goboy music as always. We got a video on the way.
Love it.
We're over 1 million on TikTok and YouTube.
I love that too.
Closing in on 1 million on the YouTube channel. Once again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. You guys keep building and keep growing this pod. We're here because of you. We are here because of you. Round of applause one more time. And we're gonna sign off like this. That's the belt. That's the other belt. He'll be back, and that's Mongo. I'm U-Goboy. Love you guys. Yahtzee.
Whoa. Hey, this a vibe, nigga. Whoa. Woo. Secure the bag, I need more. Hey, 3P Jordan. Whoa. Woo. I can't keep it on a low. This a whole vibe. I don't need a plug, no cosign. Thinking out loud, that's a gold mine. Mask on, yeah, COVID-19. Baby mama, yeah, looking like Rihanna. Rest in peace to George, rest in peace Brianna. Still kicking like Van Damme with my niggas in Amsterdam.
You go, boy.
Yahtzee.